TMNT Minute and Reverend Motherverse are proud to present a special podcast event, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Up From Below, a role-playing game played and performed for your entertainment as the fifth entry in the TMNT cinematic series.
Based on the Palladium Games role-playing book Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness, and featuring an all-new original story, art, and musical score.
Starring Adam Sheehan as Michelangelo, Scott Tofty as Leonardo, Chris O'Connor as Raphael, and Ralph Atanasia as Donatello, Rachel Gatlin as Alopex, and your Game Master, Sean Jaffe.
So this summer, tune in to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Minute presents Up From Below, the limited series event, anywhere you get your podcasts, and at tmntminute.com.
Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. My name is Travis.
And I'm Patrick.
And we are back.
Some more characters that I likely won't know.
And I might know half of them.
Yeah, I was surprised you didn't know a few of those in a row.
Yeah.
You had quite the humbling moment.
That's right. Had to question everything I knew about myself.
Your comic book credentials were questioned that day.
Oh, I took all my comic books. I burned them the next weekend. They're gone. I just said, well, if I don't know who, Dreams of the Endless is, then what kind of comic book fan am I? So,
and I forgot the other guy that's like a writer that is a superhero.
Spider Jerusalem.
Spider Jerusalem, yeah. Good times.
Speaking of Spider Jerusalem, I might as well plug our upcoming comic book readers club on, on Zoom. So, if you want to read issues 1 through 6, I believe, of Transmetropolitan and talk about it with us, go to our Facebook page and find the link.
If you dare.
Yeah. So we'll pull up some. We're using IGN's list of top 100 comic book heroes. We're gonna plug in some random numbers and see who we can talk about. And it looks like our first one is number 17. And number 17 is Barbara Gordon.
Ooh, I know that one.
Yeah.
But
tell us about Barbara Gordon.
I know her as becoming Batgirl, but I don't know if she's always Batgirl.
It depends. First appearance was Detective Comics number 359, way back in January of 1967, which surprises me.
Wow.
Because
wasn't she in
I know that
60s Batman series?
Yeah, which would have been like the same
time, yeah.
Maybe like the next year, because I think Yvonne Craig came on as Batgirl in the 3rd season of the Adam West Batman, which would have been like 68, maybe.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
wow,
66
I thought
to
she went. I thought she went back to at least the 50s. Batman has been around since 39.
Well, I guess that makes
surprised.
sense. I mean, like the women's liberation movement was in the 60s, so that maybe it was like, they thought it was a good time to get that moving in Batman. I don't know. Maybe
the idea of like female sidekicks wasn't really a popular thing. I mean, because you had Catwoman, and she goes back to the 40s.
Oh, does she? Okay.
So I think female villains might have been common, but I guess not sidekicks.
Yeah. Because you had Wonder Woman, obviously. And,
she goes back to the 40s.
Yeah, but maybe it just wasn't. Maybe it was complicated with like uptight conservative America.
Yeah,
having a woman with a man that wasn't married. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Batman did have a small boy that was his companion.
That's right.
So who knows?
Yeah. So it says, the daughter of Jim Gordon, Barbara began her career gallivanting as Batgirl, not spurred on to avenge the death of her parents or complete some overwhelming crusade against crime. Babs simply wanted to help out and show Batman and Robin that a woman was perfectly capable to do what they do, and she succeeded.
Didn't know she was called Babs.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a nickname for Barbara, for anyone named Barbara. Yeah. So it's like the main, the longest running DC continuity. She was, introduced. She was Batgirl for a long time, and then in the 80s, Alan Moore, the writer of Watchmen, did The Killing Joke, which was is kind of his little Batman story. And in that is where he had the Joker paralyze Batgirl by just showing up at her door, not because she was Batgirl, but because Joker wanted to do harm to Commissioner Gordon's family.
Yeah, okay.
And so he just, she opened the door and he just point blank shot her in the in the stomach. So it went through and went through her spine and paralyzed her. So from the 80s, kind of mid 80s, I think that was like 87 maybe. So from then until the mid 2000s, Barbara Gordon was in a wheelchair and went by the name Oracle. And so she was like Batman's, the quote unquote man in the chair, that she served that role of being the eyes and ears and, monitoring satellites and hacking into places that Batman needed access to. And
kind of like how Alfred was in the latest movies.
Yeah.
Just like on standby.
Yeah. So she was, and still, functioning as a hero at that point, because that's still like she's part of the team. But then when DC rebooted everything in 2011 with the New 52, Batgirl, I actually read it was a pretty 50-issue series that ran and it started with her, like, she's moving into a new place and she has a wheelchair, and you think, is she still she's still paralyzed, or but they make it seem like, well, she got better, so she's like they kind of introduced that she had a wheelchair kind of as a, well, I guess I don't need that anymore, and they moved on. So just to kind of show the whole New 52 thing was kind of weird in some places anyways. So and even since then they've retconned things again with Rebirth, and so I don't even know what, she's still running around as Batgirl at this point. I don't think she's had any other aliases or at least any long running aliases. But
well, I know she's Batgirl in DC Superhero Girls. It's like a short cartoon grouping with like all the female superheroes in like as a high school or something.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I guess there's boys too, because I think there's a Flash, but it's mainly focused on the girls. So she's at least in that.
That's cool. Yeah, and immortalized on screen by Alicia Silverstone.
Clueless Queen herself.
Oh man,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, she's not the problem with that movie. I will say that she is not the problem with that movie.
Isn't that movie's director no longer with us now?
That's true. Very recently,
was it him? Okay,
departed. Yeah, Joel Schumacher. Yeah.
Okay. I thought he was the Clooney Batman. I knew he was the guy with the nipple Batman thing that would have lit the internet on fire if it was as widely used today.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been like,
that's pretty high up there for her. 17?
Yeah,
that's
pretty high. She's one of those that I think is written really well, depending on like who. Obviously, depending on the writer. It's the New 52 run was written by Gail Simone, and it was really good.
Okay.
So I think I have all those issues. But yeah, I think she's just a solid character, and she was portrayed really well in the Batman animated series. Very like capable, headstrong, intelligent, and kind of like it said, she didn't do it because, she was getting revenge for something. It was just at least in the animated series, she knew that Batman needed to make a public appearance to help out, to clear the name of her father, Jim Gordon, who had been framed. So they were trying to do like a fundraiser to raise bail money, I think. And, I think she talked to Batman and said, like, please make an appearance. It would help out a lot. And of course, Batman was more concerned with actually detecting and trying to find the real culprit.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, how did she say it? She said something like, well, if Batman will be there whether he knows it or not, or something like that. So she made her own Batman costume, just kind of threw it together, and then ended up, stopping an attempted assassination on the mayor, maybe, or something like that in the, at the fundraiser.
Okay.
And so kind of chased down some bad guys, in her newly made, like, Batman costume, and then kind of went from there and became part of the team from then on. So
it's a weird origin.
yeah. So kind of, they had to make it a little bit more action oriented and kind of give her a reason to suit up, not just, well, I can do it, but
well, at least it's a quick origin story.
Yeah. It may have been a 2-part episode, and she's got like one of the best episodes of the animated series. It might have been the New Batman Adventures. It's called Over the Edge, and it starts out with the death of Batgirl, which makes Commissioner Gordon just flip out and basically call for the death of Batman, and goes on this manhunt for Batman.
I remember that.
It all comes down to, like, at the beginning of the episode, she was hit with some of Scarecrow's fear toxin, and so the entire episode was in her head. It was just in a nightmare. So it's really cool.
I think that's called the Dallas formula, where it was all a dream.
I think we haven't done this every character, but I've had my my long running, I guess, at least with the DC EU, the DC Cinematic Universe, like my preference of who I would want to play Barbara Gordon, and it's Saoirse Ronan, and she is Lady Bird.
Okay,
and
I was like, I know the
name. Several other things. I'm coming to a blank on her other movies, but I think she's most well known recently for Lady Bird. But
gotcha.
Yeah, that's who I would like to see as Batgirl, Barbara Gordon.
I'm trying to think. I used to have one. I want to say, I think I had 2. It was either, at the time anyway, Emma Stone.
Sure.
And then, now I gotta remember her name. Last name's Fanning. She was in Super 8.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The younger Dakota, or no, Elle
Fanning. Yep.
Elle Fanning. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I could have seen her as a Batgirl.
Yeah.
Seemed kind of tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I have much else on Barbara Gordon. It is interesting that they have her listed as Barbara Gordon. It doesn't say Batgirl until you read the synopsis. Yeah. But I mean, I guess she's been a hero in and out of costume. So.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like she had like at least 20 years of being just Barbara.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, you'd think it would have been like parentheses or something.
Right.
Like, so you're not like, wait, do they mean just Barbara, or do they mean Batgirl and Barbara?
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, let's
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's see if the streak continues. Will I know it?
All right. Well, it might be a good one. We've got number 6.
Oh, okay.
Which I think we did number 8 maybe last time, and that was Iron Man. So Let's see who number 6 is. Aha, Captain America.
Okay. I know him.
I know nothing about this character.
Yeah, he's got like a plate he throws around.
It's like a frisbee.
Frisbee, yeah. Okay. Like a pie tin.
Yeah. Hey, far out frisbee.
Yeah. Back to the Future, Part 3.
Yep.
All right. So Captain America, Steve Rogers, America's Golden
there
Boy.
There you go.
So yeah, his origins come from being a wimp and saying, "Hey, I'll take that random injection." So
That's
he's
right.
the poster child for steroids, is what I think of him as.
Yep. Pretty much.
He's the reason baseball went into the trouble it was.
That's right.
Thanks a lot, Cap.
Captain America, from first appearance, Captain America Comics #1, March of 1941, which is a, classic comic book cover of him just punching Adolf Hitler right square in the jaw, and that's my I use that image as my Facebook cover art or cover photo, or not my profile picture, but my cover photo. Yeah. Captain America is one of my favorites, so I sport a Captain America shield tattoo on my wrist, and he was always typically his origin is told like he was a 98-pound weakling who signed up for some experimental process for Operation Rebirth, and to be turned into a super soldier, and then one of Hydra's top agents kind of infiltrated that experiment and assassinated the scientist Dr. Erskine right after they injected Steve, and so it only worked once, but the plan was to have a whole legion of Captain Americas. So that's he's the special one, and there's been dozens of storylines all across the comicdom of or at least the Marvel universe of trying to replicate that formula, and then typically it produces villains, because something goes wrong, or
So I always wondered this. Was his being frozen and unthawed done in like subsequent decades, or was that just a product of the movies?
That was done, I think. So I haven't read like the old Captain America comics, the stuff that came out in the 40s till, but I think basically he just, the wartime heroes just kind of fell out of favor. I mean, not that people were anti, heroes. It was just like, in the 50s and 60s, people were more into the sci-fi and Western comics and that sort of thing. So superheroes weren't really hitting big unless you were DC doing, Superman and Batman. So Marvel was focused more on like I said, Westerns and horror comics and monsters and sci-fi stuff. And so when Jack Kirby and Stan Lee decided to do Avengers, they thought, well, who's somebody that we could introduce to be part of this team? And they thought, well, we could come up with a reason for Captain America to come back. And it was actually funny because I was reading, I think it was an issue of Fantastic Four where there might have been like a backup story, kind of a side adventure where Johnny Storm encountered what he thought was the real Captain America. And it was like, he was lost in after the war, and kind of there was an air of mystery about Captain America, and like we thought he was disappeared and lost forever. It turned out that that was an imposter, but at the end of that issue, there was a note saying like, we hope you liked seeing Captain America in this issue, even if it was a fake Captain America. Stick around and you might see him again in the future. And then I think a few months later, Avengers #1 came out with, Avengers number 4 came out, and Captain America was introduced part of the team, and then they slowly kind of worked in his backstory of he and Bucky were on a mission to stop Red Skull, and then he went down with, it was like they were trying to launch an experimental plane or rocket, something like that, and he goes into the ice or into the water, and and that kind of explains why he disappeared. But I think, like, if you were to follow Captain America comics, they probably, I don't think they end that way. I think it just kind of, the book probably just ended, and then it's kind of retconned later that that's why he disappeared.
Okay, so his book ended, and then there was a hiatus between that and Avengers.
Oh yeah, okay. Probably 20-year gap.
Oh,
maybe.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, he's there. I love the character. I love what they've done with him in the MCU. Seeing him in Avengers Endgame, like that whole fight sequence just gives me chills thinking about it. From him lifting Thor's hammer to fighting Thanos to when all the other heroes show up through the portals, and he finally gets to yell Avengers Assemble. Like, it literally gives me goosebumps thinking about it. So he's just an awesome character who I think the thing I love about him most is that he never gives up.
Yeah, they kind of beat that in at the beginning of the movies anyway.
Oh,
he's
sure.
Getting beat in the alley.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because honestly, I didn't think that much of Captain America until the movies came out.
No one did.
So I'm assuming the movies bumped him way up the list.
Oh yeah, for sure. A couple years prior to the MCU, like a writer named Ed Brubaker. The artist was Steve Epting, and the writer was Ed Brubaker. They kind of made Captain America a little bit more popular. They're the ones that introduced Bucky coming back as Winter Soldier, and then kind of made the Captain America book a really cool, like, kind of spy espionage book, and that's when I started getting into Captain America. And then Civil War happens, and they then kill Captain America, and that's when I got my tattoo. And then, he was, of course, didn't stay dead in the comics. And then I think, when was the first Avenger? I think it was 2010. Maybe his movie came out, maybe 2011. But yeah, I mean, the movies have certainly made him, more of a forefront. He's always a part of every Avengers team or part of every, big comic book event, but he was on the rise anyways. So
cool.
But yeah, I mean, I think in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, he was just there was a reason he was, no one had done anything with him.
How dare you? In the 90s, we had that gem of a movie we watched.
That's right.
Although I think his origin was that he had, like, crippled legs or something. I don't know.
They gave him polio.
Polio,
I think.
That's what it was.
Yeah. But
so yeah, the movies didn't do him any favors early on.
No.
70s, early 90s.
Yeah. I could talk about
good number 6.
Captain America, all day, but yeah, I'm not surprised that he's number 6 because I have some suspicions as, like, who else is going to round out the top 5. But I'm glad that he's a top 10 because that tells you, like, out of 100, like, he definitely has come a long way.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So can you see anyone else playing Captain America? It's weird thinking about Chris Evans because I think of his earlier superhero work with Fantastic Four and Scott Pilgrim.
Sure.
Especially Scott Pilgrim because that was a weird character.
Yeah.
That skateboarding Hollywood guy.
Uh-huh. What's his Chase something maybe or?
I haven't watched it in years, but he was memorable.
Oh yeah,
him and his stunt guys that all kind of look like him.
Yeah, that's a funny movie.
Yeah, but
I don't know who I could see playing him.
It's a hard role to fill because
really
you got to be boy next door, but not in a hokey way.
Yeah.
And you got to have principles. I don't know. It's just a weird. It's an old character to play. It's a 40s character.
Right.
You have to not seem like he's from the 40s, even though he is.
Gee Willikers, yeah.
Yeah.
They were smart to bring him into the. Well, I'll back up. It was super smart to make the first movie entirely set in World War II, and then bring him into the modern day at the end of the movie, and then so the rest of the time when he's when you meet him again in Avengers, it's like he's still getting his bearings, but he's not running around saying things like "gee Willikers" or "gee" or "that's swell" or he's not. They treat him seriously, enough, and they make a few jokes about like him being a little more wholesome than everybody else, of course, but it's
Iron Man gives him crap all the time.
But I think they handle it
once or something about having a potty mouth.
Yeah, like language,
weird. Language cap.
But then it's really smart that to show by the time like Captain Winter Soldier comes out, he's already kind of getting a handle on living in the modern world. He's not like, I don't know, someone uses a modern device and he doesn't like recoil because it's, he thinks it's magic, like he's gotten up to speed well enough that,
which is insane
intelligent.
If you think about it. It's insane. Yeah. Like the amount of stuff he's missed. I mean,
and
from the 40s to, 2010 or whatever. I mean, that's a lot of technology in that time span.
It's easier to swallow
and change
when it's like you go from the 40s to when they reintroduce him in 63 in Avengers, like because then there's not so. I mean, those books they try to, they were kind of known for making a lot of fanciful future tech, of the 60s. So everything was space age, so. They did do a little bit of like, oh, this is way beyond my my generation or whatever, but he picked things up pretty quick, but yeah,
because I mean Tony Stark's basically the Wizard of Oz to him.
Yeah.
It's like, how does he do this? He must be a wizard. But, it's hard to recast.
Yeah, I don't know that it's interesting with the way the because the MCU has been one continuous string of movies, there's, you can create a new character to take up the mantle. And I love that Sam, the Falcon is getting the chance because he and Bucky have been Captain America in the comics. When Cap was killed, it went to Bucky, and then couple more big comic book events later, and I think Captain America was reverted to kind of his natural age. He was like old man Steve. Then I think the shield went to Sam. So I'm really happy that it went to Sam in the comics or in the movies. I'm looking forward to seeing his Star Spangled costume with the wings, because in the comics, like he kept the Falcon, like,
so it's like he doesn't have super serum, so
like he keeps the wings,
just a shield
but
they could do.
They give him a new paint job, and so I'm hoping they do that but they're doing the Falcon and Winter Soldier Disney Plus series before they before we see either of them in future movies.
Oh, yeah. And that's on.
Which is, I guess,
kind of on hold.
Yeah, but...
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, should we move on?
Yep. Let's generate some numbers.
Oh, yeah. Have we done 53? I don't think so.
We've been around there before.
Yeah.
I remember being middle of the road
this is completely appropriate. Number 53, Bucky Barnes.
Oh, jeez, that's weird.
Yeah.
AKA Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Bucky Barnes.
Wasn't he like a kid in the original?
So yeah, in the original comics, he was. They described him as, because it was like they were based out of Camp Lehigh, which I think it's either New Jersey or North Carolina. I think maybe New Jersey. Either way, he was they called him the mascot of Camp Lehigh or whatever. And I think they give you the impression that maybe his dad was a soldier, and so he was just always around the base, and maybe his dad got killed, and then so he just kind of got adopted by the base. Either way,
I had an image in my head of Archie from those comics, like red hair, kind of skinny,
kind of looked like that. Yeah, he was basically he was like Robin, you know. Maybe he was as old as 13, maybe 14, but probably between 10 and 14 years old. In the more recent stuff, I think they've kind of retconned him to, and of course in the MCU they made, you know, Sergeant Barnes, you know, he was old enough to enlist, and he went off to serve before, you know, Steve did. So
I always say he was 18, but he looked like he was 35.
Exactly, yeah. But he had a kind of a cool look. He had the domino mask with like a red and blue, almost the kind of jacket that the Rocketeer wears. I don't know what you call that kind of jacket. It's not like a bomber jacket, but it's, you know,
fighter pilot jacket.
I don't know. I don't know what you call it, but even like at being a kid and being thrown into being Captain America's sidekick, he would still run around with a machine gun shooting Nazis. So he was kind of a little badass, like kind of the opposite of what Robin would be. But and he'd jump into the fray and take out, you know, Nazis right along with Captain America. That's been one of the fun things about reading the newer, I'm sure I've mentioned before, I've been going back and been rereading all the old Marvel comics from the 60s, and so I've been reading Avengers and Captain America and Iron Man and Thor and all that stuff. So in the quote-unquote new issues of Captain America that are set in the 60s, you know, they do like a backup feature at the end of the book where they'll go, you know, they'll create a new story as if it was set in World War II. So they'll kind of like do a flashback to Bucky and Captain America's adventures in World War II. So it's been interesting reading those, and yeah, just seeing Bucky, you know, getting into scraps, or he'll get captured by some Nazis and Captain America will come in and save him, but most of the time he's able to, you know, take care of business on his own. So but yeah, his first appearance is the same book, Captain America Comics #1 from March of 41. And it was let's see, and I don't know, again, same with Captain America, I don't know at what point they, you know, did they just say, well, we're not making Captain America books anymore, so, you know, whatever the last issue was, that was just the last issue, you know, something like that probably. But but he was, you know, at least when Captain America is reintroduced in the 60s with the Avengers, he makes it very clear that Bucky was killed, that he witnessed, you know, Bucky you know, give his life for kind of the same time that Cap went in the ice, and so he stayed dead from that point until, like I previously mentioned, until Ed Brubaker brought him back in. I mean, what Winter Soldier was probably 2000. I guess it was pre-Civil War, so it was probably 2004, 2003 maybe. So he was one of the longest running, you know, dead characters in comics, you know, alongside like Uncle Ben. Like he was kind of always on the list of Like the two characters you cannot bring back from the dead are Uncle Ben and Bucky, and they found a way to bring back Bucky and made it as simple, I guess, as he was found by the Russians or found by Soviets, fished out of the ice and then just brainwashed into becoming this, like they do in the movies. I mean, it's pretty close to kind of what happens. He just becomes this Soviet, sleeper agent with one metal cybernetic arm, and it's pretty faithful, I think, to Brubaker's kind of run on Bucky and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I feel like he got the shaft for sure. Like just comparing him and his situation to Cap's.
I'd be willing to bet that they didn't bring back Bucky when they reintroduced Captain America because the Avengers already kind of had a sidekick in Rick Jones. So Rick Jones was really the Hulk's kind of sidekick, little his Jimmy Olsen, if you will. And so when like Hulk was on the team with the Avengers for 3 issues or something like that, and they just realized his tempers were too violent, and so he bugged out and was no longer an Avenger. But then Rick Jones was like, maybe I'll stick around and I'll be your. He created like a Avengers fan club, and what were they called? A teenage something society or squad or something like that. But basically, if the Avengers were ever in trouble and some local teenager got wind of it, they would use their what are those radios called? Ham radio.
Ham, yeah.
And they had like this whole network across the country of like teen groupies that would follow the exploits of the Avengers, and so it wouldn't take long for word to get back to Avengers headquarters, and and Rick Jones to let them know, I guess, what's going on or whatever. So I think because they already had a teen sort of sidekick for the Avengers, and he kind of then became Captain America's like little ward, they probably didn't want to also have Bucky running around with him at the same time. Maybe, I don't know. That would be a guess. But I like that I like Sebastian Stan in the MCU as Bucky. It's kind of the same problem. Anyone in the MCU, it'd be tough to recast, but I think there were probably several options for Bucky because he's fine in the movies. I wouldn't say he's like a breakout star or anything like that.
He's sort of like just a side character that, like, especially later on after obviously the Winter Soldier movie.
Yeah,
it's more like he's just like a broken down war veteran.
Yeah,
like, just kind of trying to put his life back together. So he doesn't really play much of a role after that point.
Right.
It feels like, because was he working in Wakanda?
Yeah, just kind of hiding out there because he's at the end of Civil War. Like, he's still a wanted man.
There's one person that came to mind when I was trying to think of somebody else for that, and I was thinking of Bill Skarsgård, who's known as It, I guess, or Pennywise.
Sure,
but I knew him from the Hemlock Grove Netflix series.
Okay,
where he plays like a vampire kind of character, but I always felt like he had like a weird vibe to him that would have fit the Winter Soldier piece of it at least.
Sure.
And he could even pull off the earlier part where he's Bucky and happy-go-lucky ladies man. But I don't know, I just thought he'd be a cool alternative.
Yeah, nice like off the wall kind of.
I know, there's something about his face that just freaks me out sometimes. So
yeah,
maybe it's because of Pennywise.
Yeah. He's got those weird kind of sunken in eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
And he looks like he's from like the 40s. Like, he looks older.
Yeah.
Like generation kind of look to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
One more, or do we call it there?
We can do one more if you want.
Yeah, let's do one more.
So far, I'm 3 for 3. Let's see if I can screw it up.
See if we can keep the streak alive. We might have done 47. We'll be in the same neighborhood as Bucky Barnes. I can't remember if we did 47. Let's see. No, we have not done 47, but this is a good one. This is Kitty Pryde.
Kitty Pryde.
You probably...
Is that an X-Men?
Yes, X-Men.
Does she like the walk through walls?
Yeah, she walks through, she phases through objects. Yeah, she can become intangible.
I've seen her in the movies as like a...
Ellen Page has played her in most of the X-Men movies. I think in her...
Yeah, I really know next to nothing about her, though, other than she can walk through stuff.
She's kind of... It was kind of a weird thing when the first X-Men movie kind of made Rogue such a big deal. At least in the first and second movie, kind of... like, that should have probably been Kitty Pryde. Because going back to her first appearance was Uncanny X-Men 129, which I think I have that issue, January 1980. And so she was much younger than the rest of the team. And so she would kind of run around with them as a junior member of the X-Men. So she wasn't necessarily allowed to get into, big... I mean... I don't know. I haven't really read a lot of it, but she would still go on.
Her name doesn't do her any favors.
What's that?
Kitty Pryde.
Kitty Pryde, yeah.
Her name?
Yeah.
It sounds like a little kid.
And she went by, let me see. There's a list of names that she goes by. I know Sprite is one of them.
Oh.
Let me look up Kitty Pryde.
Because to me, Rogue was a bigger character than Kitty Pryde because of the cartoon in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I thought that's why the movies went Rogue.
I think most well known as Shadowcat.
Okay.
But Shadowcat, Ariel, Sprite, Star-Lord, which in the late 2000s she actually joined the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think she was dating she was dating Star-Lord, and I think took over the team or something. So I'm guessing that's why. She took on the name. Captain Kate Pryde, and maybe did a stint as the Red Queen. So, yeah, I knew about Sprite. I forgot that she was Ariel. But she's been on...
So she's all over the place.
Yeah, and like I said, primarily she's been a part of the X-Men, and then she went across the pond and became a member of Excalibur, which is like the UK... team of mutants, and so it had like Nightcrawler was a member, and Captain Britain, and a few other mutants. So kind of set up like I said, a UK version of the X-Men. But yeah, I think that issue 129. I might be wrong, but I think that is It's called The Days of Future Past, which is what the movie Days of Future Past is based on, where you start the issue and you think you've missed like 20 issues because it starts in like 20 years in the future and most of the mutants are dead, and you meet Kitty Pryde, and I think at that point she is a much older character. She's Kate Pryde, and she goes back in time. I know in the movies they send Wolverine back in time to fix something in the past, but yeah, I think I don't know, but I think that's the issue, that you meet her as like an older person, and then after that point, I think they introduce her younger self into the team from then on. I guess I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but.
So she's complicated.
Yeah, but it's a cool power set because she can phase through things, and the third X-Men movie, The Last Stand, it has its problems for sure, but they use her in a really cool way when she fights the Juggernaut, and she basically gets him to a point, and then like she starts sinking him into the floor and kind of traps him for a little while. But she can do things like that, and just kind of a cool idea of being able to walk through walls and whatnot.
Okay.
I don't have a lot on Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, I'm surprised she's as like on the upper, like in the other side of 50.
Just on this side of the halfway. Yeah.
She always seemed like a random background character.
I think because she was really a crucial part of the X-Men for so long. Like, I think the 90s cartoon X-Men made Jubilee the young person on the team. And Jubilee had only been around for like 1, maybe 2 years prior to that cartoon. And so, like, again, they probably should have made Kitty Pryde that young person. And then in 2000s, with the movies, it's like they did the same thing with Rogue. They made her the young person, where that role probably should have been Kitty Pryde. So it's like she keeps getting passed over, you know?
I think Rogue's just a cooler idea of a character. Like,
she has a cool, tragic power set for sure.
Yeah, because she can absorb a person, basically.
Yeah, and she's scared to touch anybody, and yeah, that's certainly is.
I think that happened in the '90s cartoon. That's why she had flight, is because she absorbed too much.
Captain Marvel, she attacked Captain Marvel, and
was it Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a whole can of worms. That she absorbed so much of her that basically she had Captain Marvel's conscience, like, buried in her psyche.
Weird about that.
And it was just, she wasn't quite, didn't have split personality or anything, I don't think, but basically had two consciousnesses, in her brain, because she took so much of Captain Marvel. But
I just thought that was a cool, different power, I guess, or consequence.
Yeah.
But so Kitty Pryde, congratulations on being better than a majority, or not a majority, than more than half.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, no, I would have put her down way further down. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, until seeing her pop up, here at 47, I can't tell you the last time I thought about Kitty Pryde, So
yeah, okay.
I'm happy to see her on the list,
All right.
Yeah.
Well, pretty successful round of
I think so.
Numbers here. Actually knew most of it.
Right.
So I think that'll do it for this character section.
Yeah, good place to wrap it up. We'll let's see. Our next episode is our episode 100, where we're going to be looking at Army of Darkness, and we might have a special guest on that episode. And then, like I said at the top of the episode, we have the Comic Book Readers Club coming up in a few weeks. So yeah, go to the Facebook group, the Real Comic Heroes League of Citizens, and you'll find a link to the event, which will be on Zoom on Wednesday, August 5th, if I'm not mistaken, at I think around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find Transmetropolitan. I've found it for free on Hoopla, the digital library app. So hopefully you can find it there and read it for free and join us there and just talk about it with us. And what else? I think that's probably about it.
Yeah, I think that should do it.
Cool. I think until then, stay safe out there, citizens.
Or stay safe in there, because you shouldn't be going outside.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.